wasn't invited to my own sister's wedding, even though I paid for most of it. She said I didn't fit the vibe. But her smile disappeared when the Santa Barbara venue canceled last minute, and she knew exactly why. I remember exactly how I found out. Not through an honest conversation, not due to a mistake in the invitations. No, I found out like someone who stumbles upon a party they were never meant to know about, through a perfectly filtered Instagram post. No, I found out I wasn't invited to my sister's wedding the same way someone finds out about a party they were never meant to attend, through a social media post. A glittering embossed invitation card resting on white velvet. The caption read, "Just a few more weeks. Can't wait to share our big day with all our dearest loved ones." All the dearest loved ones, except me. At first, I thought it had to be a mistake. Maybe the mail was late, or she just hadn't mentioned it yet. After all, I fronted the deposit for the venue, covered catering, even helped pay for her dress. Ironically, a dress I never even got to see. I scrolled through hundreds of comments, my stomach turning. Friends, cousins, coworkers, everyone was thrilled. One person commented, "Must be a very curated guest list." Curated. That's when the pit in my stomach began to grow. I sent her a simple text. "Saw your post. I haven't gotten the invite yet. Maybe it got lost?" No reply. An hour passed, then two. As the sun set, I told myself I was overreacting. Maybe she was busy. Maybe I was being too sensitive. But at 10:34 p.m., the message came in. "I meant to talk to you. The guest list was really tight. It's a small, elegant event. No offense, but I don't think you really fit the vibe. I know you'll be happy for me from afar. Love you." Happy from afar. Doesn't fit the vibe. Elegant event. I read it 3 times before it sank in. I wasn't forgotten. I was excluded. Deliberately. I'm not like her friends. Perfect blowouts, rehearsed smiles, tailored dresses. I don't work at a trendy agency. I own a custom car shop in East LA. My regulars are racers and vintage collectors. I don't sit in glass offices with long titles or have brunch talking about stocks or business strategies. I own a car shop in suburban Denver, and not just any shop. I work on sports cars, supercars, and multi-million-dollar classics. But to my family, it might as well be me working at a gas station. To them, I'm just a mechanic with greasy hands, not clean enough to sit at a restaurant table. My sister Natalie has always looked down on me. To her, success means a top-floor office, a badge with the corporate logo, and a LinkedIn profile that's meticulously written down. It never said it directly, but its eyes said it all. Especially the times when I had just finished work, hadn't had time to change clothes, and walked into a meeting with an oil-stained shirt. My brother runs a car dealership. The way she introduced him to her college friends made me feel like an employee, not a founder. And now, after all I had done, she was still leaving me out of her big day. A wedding that I, ironically, paid for. I shouldn't have been surprised. The signs had been there for a long time, the half-jokes at meetings, the awkward silence whenever I mentioned a new deal to a VIP. But I'd never said no to them. When my dad was hospitalized, I was the one who ran up the down payment. When Natalie lost her job last year, I secretly sent money to my mom to help her pay the rent. And this wedding, I was almost fully financing it. "Do you know how much it costs to have a wedding at the Fairmont Hotel?" She sighed, looking at her phone screen as if weighing the value of her life. "If you want something fancy, you've got to pay for it," I half joked. "You don't have to maintain a professional image. You don't have a boss looking at you from a conference room through a glass door. You can wear an old t-shirt and still be respected at work." For Natalie, a person's worth is determined by how others see them, not who they are. She doesn't care that I came from nothing, without a college degree, just skills and will. But I still transferred the money, still stood behind the scenes, quietly taking care of all the expenses that her future groom didn't know about. I told myself, helping is helping the family. No need for credit, no need for thanks. But even so, I didn't think I would be left off the guest list. The night I received her text message, just a few cold lines saying limited number of guests, I couldn't sleep. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, my heart aching. I tried to guess. Was it the time I arrived at my parents' house for dinner, sweat barely drying on my forehead? Or was it the time she had to hastily explain to her friends, "My brother works in cars, like tuning cars. Sounds weird, right?" As if I was some kind of pastime? Or was it the fact that she never considered me to be on her level? The next morning, I drove to the suburb of New Haven, where my parents lived. I had not given them any advance notice, partly because I wanted to catch them in their most real state. There was no stage, no preparation. As I opened the door, the smell of baked goods and coffee hit my nose. From the kitchen came my mother Martha's bored voice. "It's always like that. You can't expect anything more." My sister Natalie's voice answered, clear and unabashed. "I just don't want him to embarrass me. This engagement isn't fair. I can't have him showing up looking like he's been sleeping under a truck." I stood frozen in the hallway, my jaw clenched so tightly my teeth were almost grinding together. My father, Henry, spoke from the living room, his voice little more than a sigh. "He is your brother, after all. And that's why he should know the limits," Natalie said, biting her lip. "This is a formal event, and he's always the one who makes things awkward. He doesn't fit in that world." Enough. I pushed open the door and entered the kitchen. Natalie froze as if she'd seen a ghost. My mother turned abruptly, pretending to be rushing to froth the coffee, even though the coffee maker had long since finished. "Is that what people really think of me?" I asked, my voice eerily flat. Natalie raised her head slightly, but didn't pull away. "Don't read into it. This is a selective party. You don't belong." "Don't belong?" I repeated, crossing my arms, looking at her as if expecting a death sentence. "I understand," Natalie breathed. "They all work in banks, law firms, multi-million-dollar startups. They talk differently, live differently." I smiled faintly, but without any joy. "Because I don't wear a tie every day, I'm not qualified to exist in the same room as them?" "That's not it," Natalie said hastily, but her eyes didn't lie. My mother interjected hesitantly. "Son, we just want everything to be perfect. You're a little rough. Leather jacket, greasy shoes, and you don't act like a gentleman." "I own the biggest garage in the north of the state," I said, calmly but clearly. "I pay 18 people. I make 3 times as much as that lawyer Natalie's dating. But just because I don't talk like a Harvard robot, I'm considered an outsider?" Natalie groaned. "It's not about the money. It's about the image. It's about not wanting our special day to be a joke because of something inappropriate. And you always make things unpredictable. I'm sorry." "Right." No one mentioned who paid the deposit for the restaurant. No one remembered me taking Natalie home when she was drunk at a bar last year, or helping my parents fix the roof for free. I nodded, a cold feeling creeping up the back of my neck. "Got it." My mother clung to hope. "Don't be mad. After the wedding, we'll have a private dinner. No frills, no formality. The kind of dinner you like." I smiled, a sharp smile. "Great, because in my world, People don't talk behind people's backs and then ask them to pay the bill. I grabbed my car keys and turned away. No one said anything. On the way back to the garage, my phone rang. A text from Natalie. Don't make a big deal out of it, okay? You know I love you. Oh, I'll send you the link to pay for the cake. The deadline is Friday. XOXO. I burst out laughing. I laughed so hard that I had to pull over and bend over to laugh. Did she really believe I would still pay? Still swallowing my pride like all the other times? Number not this time. It's over. As I pulled into the parking lot of the Phoenix store, I knew I had truly changed. For years, I had been the team carrier for my family, the one they came to when they were in debt, the one who nodded when their hearts screamed, "It's impossible." I had convinced myself that it was my duty, my blood, but this time was the final crack that brought down the entire wall. Natalie, my sister, hadn't just borrowed money. She took it for granted, then turned around and mocked me behind her back in front of her show-off friends. Every check, every transfer, she accepted with a smile that wasn't even remotely grateful. But when she had the chance to mention me, she pretended I didn't exist. And then she texted. A brazen line. Eric, remember to pay the wedding cake bill. The bakery needs to finalize the payment today. I stared at the text, my heart hardening to stone. I replied, Me, sorry. I didn't want to embarrass you by mentioning me at your wedding. I'm sure you'll manage. Good luck. No emojis, no fake exclamation points, just cold finality. Less than 5 minutes later, the phone rang. Natalie. I let it ring quietly. Then Mom. Then Dad. Then Natalie again. When I locked up the shop that night, I had 12 missed calls. The next morning, I woke up to a string of messages. Natalie. What do you mean? You're not paying anymore? The cake is already ordered. Natalie. You can't play this game of quitting. Everyone is counting on you. Mom. Honey, don't make a big deal out of it. It's just a misunderstanding. Call us and talk. Dad. We raised you to be more responsible than this. I stared at my phone, my fingers clenching. No apology, not a single line. Eric, we're sorry for hurting you. It was all an expectation, that I would always be the good girl, nodding in resignation. I called Haley, the youngest, the only one in my family who still had any real feelings. Oh my God, you finally called. What's wrong with you? You promised to pay. I changed my mind. I interrupted, then fell silent for a beat. I changed my mind. I repeated slowly, each word reverberating in her ears. I won't pay another cent. Good luck. Are you kidding? Haley's voice was sharp as a knife. Do you really want to betray me like that? I laughed coldly. Betray? You mean the way you accidentally forgot to send me an invitation because I wasn't your taste for weddings? Or the way you and Mom talked about me like an embarrassment every time they got together? Haley exhaled. It's about image. I don't mean any harm, but money. It's a real thing, a real responsibility. It's not about me, I said, as calm as ice. If you don't want me at the wedding, fine, but you can't take my money and treat me like shit. You've drawn the line. I'm just respecting it. You're making a big deal out of it, she snapped. I'm just mad because there's no invitation. Come on, grow up. I chuckled, a tired laugh because I'm used to the absurdity. You think I'm mad about the invitation? I'm mad because you and this family used me like a walking ATM and despised the machine. Come on, I have money. I don't lack anything. That was the moment I understood. It was no longer a demand, but sheer greed. Yes, I have money, I replied, my voice like thin ice. And none of it will ever fall into your hands again. Ever. Wait, Natalie began, but I hung up. This time I was really done. A week later, no text from Haley. But from Mom and Dad, it never stopped. By Saturday, I was bombarded from all sides. She's stressed, Eric. My mom whined. Just one more help. Everything's planned. My dad interjected. What's a few thousand to you? Family is all about each other, my mom repeated like a mantra. I closed my eyes. It felt like someone was forcing me back into the dark room I had been trying to escape for years. Family helping each other? Funny, I said, my voice shaking slightly. Which one of you helped me when I opened my shop? When I slept on the floor because I couldn't afford rent? When I paid for half of Natalie's wedding and it was still considered an embarrassment? Silence. Manage yourself. I finished. I'm out of this business. I hung up, blocked both numbers. I didn't expect silence. I wasn't expecting silence. Not from my sister, not from my parents, not from anyone in the family. People who had treated me like a personal ATM for years. I expected a scolding call, half-serious threats like, "You'll regret it," or "You're so selfish." But my phone was silent for 2 days, and I understood. They weren't silent because they were angry. They were panicking, trying to piece together a plan without familiar financial resources, realizing the consequences of taking my suffering for granted. Then on the 3rd day, my mother, Martha, showed up at my auto repair shop in suburban Sacramento. She hadn't called. She just pushed the door open and walked in, as if she owned the place. Her eyes swept over the SUVs being lifted, my mechanics working hard, sweat soaking their shirts. I was wiping oil off my hands when she spoke, without warning. "There's something serious. I need to talk to you," she said, her voice as tense as a bowstring. I gestured toward the small office at the end of the workshop. "Come in." She walked in, sitting up straight in the old chair opposite the desk. Her hands were clasped tightly together in her lap, her eyes avoiding everything around her, as if her very existence here suffocated her. I deliberately took my time. I sat down slowly, my eyes never leaving the face that had once been my go-to for comfort as a child, now a familiar mask. My sister, Natalie, is in big trouble. I tilted my head, my lips curling slightly. "Oh, like I know." "I know," she growled, "but I'll tell you." She took a deep breath, as if disappointment were swallowing her whole. The bakery demanded the rest of the money before the cake could be delivered. The receptionist threatened to cancel the contract. Ivy hasn't paid the florist yet. I was silent. The wedding is less than 2 weeks away. She has nowhere else to turn. I looked at her, my face as cold as steel. What a shame. She looked at me wide-eyed, almost panicked. Perhaps she hoped I would offer to help right away, like I had before. "I have money," she said, trying to keep her voice light, the kind of lightness people reserve for children. "You can help. It doesn't affect you." I smiled, a slow, deliberately drawn-out smile. And here we are, arguing. Her nostrils flared. "Don't be a baby, Eric. You promised." Natalie built a plan around that promise. There's no turning back at the last minute. I tilted my head, my voice sarcastic. "Like when she sends invitations to people you don't know, but forgets to invite you?" "Not the same," she said firmly. "It's a game of choice. She chose to leave you out. You chose to leave your wallet out." She pressed her forehead together and sighed. I waited, as usual, for the usual cadence. Family is important. Don't stay angry for long. You weren't raised like that. But this time, she changed her strategy. "If you don't help, Natalie will have to have a backyard wedding. Everyone will laugh. She'll be embarrassed." I laughed, shaking my head. "Now that's the right reason." Her face darkened. Not for pride. She deserves a beautiful wedding after all. It's a big day. She deserves whatever she can afford, I said coolly, which obviously isn't what she's trying to plan. She pursed her lips, her eyes blazing. So you're going to leave her miserable? She's not miserable, I said firmly. She's just learning that no one can handle the consequences of rash decisions. Not even me. She looked at me for a long time, her eyes suddenly empty. Then she stood up, adjusting the strap of her bag as if it were the last piece of armor keeping her from collapsing. You'll regret it, she said, low but heavy as a rock. Maybe. I shrugged. She left without another word. I watched the door close behind her and felt weightlessness, like someone had lifted a stone from my chest that I didn't know I was carrying. In the days that followed, Ivy's wedding began to fall apart. On Instagram, she posted a vague story. The hardest thing is to be betrayed by the person you always thought would be there for you, but I guess everyone has to learn their own lesson. I swiped past the comments. Then I got a text from Holly, my nosy cousin. Eric? Is it true that you refused to pay Ivy's dowry? Yes. But why? Because she didn't invite me. A long pause. Then, yeah, I get it. The next day, Natalie texted. Natalie, hey, can we talk? I let it sit for an hour before replying. Me. What? Natalie, I don't want to cut us off like this. Can we have coffee and talk? I almost laughed. That's the point, I texted back. There was a long silence. Then a text. Are you really going to disappear? You've been gone for a long time, I texted back. I just didn't notice until now. And I blocked the number. The wedding was held in a rush in Aunt Vera's backyard. There were no lights, no buffet, just rows of plastic chairs and a muffled speaker. I heard Ivy cry all evening, not out of emotion, out of shame. I didn't call, didn't ask, didn't send my best wishes. I didn't reach out, didn't apologize, didn't check in. I let them figure it out on their own, for once. And for the first time in my life, I felt free. A year later. It took my parents almost half a year to understand that I wasn't going to change. They started with tears, then they moved on to blame, then they ended up with guarded silence. Now they talk to me like they're walking on eggshells, like they finally understand. If they push me again, I'll be gone, forever. And Natalie never apologized, but never asked me for another dime either. I call that a victory. I still run the garage, still fine. Only one thing is different. Every penny I earn, every second I spend, is now truly mine.